Ali, how you doing, brother? You
Feeling
good?
fantastic, brother. Thank you for asking.
Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for being here. Just quickly do a small little intro. My name's Joel from Nomadic Closer, and I'm sat here with Ali. Ali is one of the members at Nomadic Closer House, and man, I've seen some crazy transformations in just 30 days. It's insane. But tell me a bit about it. Like, why did you decide to join Nomadic Closer House? Like, what was it about the idea? Was it someone that someone said? Was it something specific?
Oh man, there's a lot to unpack here, but the biggest one for me was breaking the cycle of same old, and coming out of my normal day to day, which was getting a little bit boring, to ignite some more ideas, get to know more people, and build the foundation for the next level.
So I remember when we first started speaking on Zoom, you had a certain look in your eyes that's no longer there. There was a certain thing that was missing in your life. And looking at you now, I honestly see a different person sitting here, like right in front of me. And it makes me so happy and emotional to see. Like I'm being, genuinely serious from the heart. But what was happening before you made that decision? Because if you don't mind me saying, it seems like you wasn't in the best place you could be. What was it that was holding you back from being the best version of yourself?
I would I would just go back to the comfort zone, bro. I was making a good amount of money. I was seeing a couple of girls here and there. Life was okay, but I felt like I outgrew my environment for a while now, and I was in that mood that there I need to start getting uncomfortable again. I was comfortable. I was closing deals. I was seeing girls. I was going to the gym, and I wasn't going deep enough. And it is something that we're gonna touch
Sure,
on.
but how did you realize that? Because a lot of people go through life and they just live the same life every single day. They wake up, they do the same thing, and nothing really changes. But not a lot of people know that they need to make a change. Did something happen? And I'm going a little bit deep here, but did something happen to make you realize, fuck, I need to change my environment? It needs to happen.
I guess after like 5 or 6 years of trying to become a better individual, using plant medicine, going to therapy, being around other successful people, it's a subconscious feeling at this point for me that I understand that I'm not pushing, I'm not going deep enough, I'm not having fun, I'm not getting uncomfortable again. It's a subconscious feeling, I would say, that's been tattooed in my brain after being in a bad mental health and being in a bad lifestyle and coming out of it, and knowing, being able to compare. So when I get stagnant, the inner chatter comes up, the stagnancy comes
But
up.
in terms of like having that kind of mindset where something had to change, there were so many other things you could have done, right? But what was it about Nomadic Closer that made you think that's the road I'm going to go down? That's what I want to do.
I've I've had tasted similar environments before with my current company, Legendary Marketer. I was invited uh, as one of the top salespeople to go, and they gave me a private suite. So when I was in that environment, I was around people who were go-getters, who woke up on time, who said no when there was temptations. They were organized. They didn't need a kick in the ass. I was like, holy shit!
When was that?
It was about 3 years ago.
Nice. So you had that experience. Did you have any other experiences after that, similar to that?
Similar to that, I've been part of different mentorships online, not physical, and those play the same role. Maybe not as effective, but you're also, again, around people who are pushing themselves, who are working on themselves, who make you uncomfortable in a one part of your life. It can be a relationship, it can be communication, it can be business. So I had the taste here and there.
Because a lot of people in your situation, they have these online communities. They are part of, some online masterminds, and I think they're great. Don't get me wrong. I, I mean, we have our own online community. But what's the difference between an online community and something like this? Like, is there a big difference that you feel?
Huge,
In what way?
huge, huge difference. First of all, 1 hour Zoom call. It can, for some people, they can just put a mask on and just show up. That's one of it. You don't go deep enough in the conversations. The Zoom call can run out, and things can go away. But when you're in a house, when you're in a community, day in and day out, you have to come and get involved and talk and go deeper in all of that. So in some cases, you have to get vulnerable. In some cases, you get uncomfortable. In some cases, you realize you had things to share and it was part of your day to day. It's second nature now, but people are amazed by it. So there's a lot of small things that come up when you're in that environment.
So what does a kind of like the day-to-day life of a nomadic closer house look like? What's a typical day look like?
The typical day, which was super cool, we usually met here around 6:45, 7 a.m. Everybody drank their water, their electrolytes, their creatine, and get ready for workout, which it's a great kickstart to the day already.
Yeah.
To have those people come without a prior expectation or penalties, and just seeing them all showing up there day in and day out. We went to the gym, worked out, came back, everybody had their breakfast, and then we got separated to get our calls and work on our businesses. That's usually the start of the day.
Nice. And then what about the end of the day? What's the favorite part of the day?
The favorite part of the day,
Some would say it's closing deals. Some would say it's going to the gym. Some would say it's the conversations around the dinner table.
I would say the start of the day at the end of the day were the best parts. The start of the day, because you kickstart that energy, everybody sees each other, everybody's wake up, nobody's laying in the bed. So, it sends out a good signal to everybody else to push themselves. And then at the end of the day, which usually things settle down, everybody's little tired, sharing some stories, going deep enough, people getting vulnerable, and reflecting on their day. So the start at the end was the top for me.
That's nice. So when you say the beginning, I can understand everyone's waking up, they've got good energy. And we're so blessed to have the group that we have. Like,
Yes.
looking around, there's not one person that has this negative energy. Everyone's like uplifting each other.
Yeah.
Everyone is a leader in their own different way. And it's literally a pack of leaders, which is unbelievable.
I agree.
Whether it's one person inspiring someone to do something or the other one inspiring to do something else, it's just an incredible brotherhood that you guys have created. Did
I
you
agree.
expect that before coming into the house? That kind of connection?
I would say yes and no, because again, I've experienced it before, and I knew when you're around people who are motivated enough, you get along. But there were a lot of things that I didn't expect that came up, and it made it even more amazing.
Like what? Do you want to talk about it?
One of them was vulnerability without having that history. From day second, from day first, when we had that circle, everybody started sharing, people talking about their suicidal thoughts, their divorces, their ups and downs of the life, without having that years and years of relationship. So when
Zero judgments.
zero judgments, exactly, which is something that I always personally crave for, and unfortunately, it's not as accessible to me in my day-to-day life. A lot of people hide behind the mask of business, and they just talk, yeah, meditation, whatever, working out, whatever. Who cares about my story? Let's just get some money. But when you're in that environment of people who understand that it is part of the game to work on yourself, be vulnerable, and process the emotions, it allows you to also be more comfortable in your skin and get closer to real you instead of putting a mask on.
And has that helped you with your sales in terms of getting comfortable from being vulnerable, getting comfortable for being in your own skin and being able to kind of be who you truly want to be, you know? Because again, our environment dictates a lot of things that we do. You know,
Yeah.
I always talk about when you have a shark in a fish tank, the shark can only grow so big. Now you've got that shark and you've put it into the ocean, it can grow so much bigger.
Yes.
By the sounds of things, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were in this environment that was restraining you to become the best version of yourself. You had to put a mask on because of the other people around you. You couldn't open up. So now that you're here in the house, all of a sudden, you are now that shark in the ocean, being able to grow so much. But like,
Yes.
what does that kind of that growth look like? Like, what are some of the biggest realizations that you've had throughout the last 30 days? You personally?
One of the biggest realizations. I wanna go back to the first thing that I mentioned. You know, that I'm not going deep enough, and I'm being a little bit surface level in my day-to-day life. And when you see other examples of people who are a little bit leaders in their own way, as you said, you know, it's a grateful feeling. You know, it's a great feeling. They always say, you know, as humans, what got us here is adaptability. We're not the fastest, we're not the strongest, we don't have teeth. Almost any animal who weigh same as us can beat us in nature. But what helped us to take over the planet was adaptability.
Nice. But not everyone can adapt, or do you think everyone can in the right environment?
I believe everyone can.
So why do you think so many don't? There's so because we speak to so many people on a daily basis. So many people, they send us messages saying, "I'm stuck in my environment. I want to make a change. Tell me about traveling. How can I make a move? Where can I go? Where can I start?" And you give them your time, and they just don't make a change. So why are you different to those other people that don't make a change? Like what makes you so different?
I would, there are multiple things, but my best guess is they say they want to change, but they haven't felt the pain as much as they're saying. They're comfortable. They're usually living in their parents' house. The food is being cooked for them. Their laundry is being washed. So they're a little pampered.
I've
And
been there. I know what
yeah,
that feels like.
yeah, they're a little pampered. So even if they say, I want to change, it hasn't clicked for them mentally that the value is in the pain. The value is in the pursuit.
So do you think people that have hit rock bottom, people that have gone through more trauma, are the ones that take more action?
It's either that or the right parenting from the get-go, which is basically non-existent.
Yeah. So tell me what you mean by that.
The right parenting.
Yeah.
So I've seen, I've been fortunate enough to grow up with 10 other guys in my circle. We're really close. We're all Persians.
Yeah.
We grew up together in high school. And I was, if you want to kind of give each other points and kind of compare who was where, I was on the bottom two or three in terms of income, in terms of speaking English, in terms of
Wow.
having an identity, personality, like having a clear path. Everybody else were a step or two forward.
Wow.
And that gave me the opportunity to observe more. That gave me the time and the chance to observe more. So when I started observing these people, I recognized, okay, this guy was sent to a brick lane factory or brick building factory by the age of 5. He's always the most disciplined. This guy never had a job before he was 16. So he's a little sassy. So you could pick up the small things that, and I'm a curious guy in nature. I ask questions. I'm not afraid of it. So I would ask him, you know, one of my friends who was the discipline guy, was like, Ben, you know, you never had a problem with going out and doing your things, your paperwork, the boring stuff, even if we had a party last night. Like, where does this come from? It was like I volunteered for, putting bricks at 5 years old. So their parents installed discipline when he was 5. The other guy never had that in his life.
So where does your discipline come from?
Little bit from my dad. He was a disciplined guy, but mostly it came from the recognition that we build ourselves. We're not who we are now. And when
Nice.
that clicked for me, um, not too long ago, you would be surprised, about 5 or 6 ago, when I learned about brain plasticity, and doesn't matter if you're 80 years old, you can still build new habits, build new personality, build new characteristics. That's when my eyes were like, wow.
But before coming into the house, did you know your why? Did you know your purpose? Was that something that you've just been trying to figure out for many years?
I would say it's been evolving, but I had a good idea, yes.
And then when you came into the house, do you feel like you found your why or your purpose?
When I came to the house, I realized I've been not checking it as often or not editing it as often. It was something that I wrote down maybe a couple of years back and just put it in.
When you was a different person back then?
Yeah.
Right, so the person you are now, when you look back on your old why, your own purpose, it doesn't resonate. So what you're saying is, every time you learn new things, every time you grow, you become a different person, or you become a better version of yourself. So those whys may need to be reviewed and changed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes. I wouldn't say it completely got deleted and there's a new why, but it definitely evolved, and there was things that got edited.
So what was one of the biggest takeaways, or the biggest, maybe it was something that one of the mentors said, maybe it was one of the brothers that maybe sitting around the dinner table, they said something. Was there like a crazy realization where you thought, okay, that's probably my number one biggest thing from the last 30 days?
You know, Kenny had a talk in Kin the first week or the second week of this journey, and he said we mostly need to be reminded than taught, and I'm a big believer in that personally, and that's one of my missions also, to put out the simple truth of life, the basics of life out there instead of making it complicated. We in this world, I believe we have a lot of problem with people who are not taking care of themselves physically, mentally. They're not getting educated, but they have politic views. They want to save the world, but they're not qualified. They haven't earned their right to, you know, talk about politics or everything else.
So let's say for those who are terrible at reminding, or to try and remind themselves to do certain things, or
yeah.
that don't have structure in their life, or they aren't disciplined, or they procrastinate, what do you do different? Like, what could you advise everyone to be like, right, these are my techniques, this is what I do to remind myself of my mission, or who I am, or what I stand for?
So the question specifically is, what do I do to remind myself to see what I'm standing for?
Yes, for everyone listening now, if people really want to kind of check in a bit more
Yeah.
and remind themselves on their why they're getting out of bed, why they're doing the things they're doing, like, what do you do in your day-to-day life to remind yourself of those things?
I would say this is one of the biggest realizations that I had here, that I'm not reminding myself enough. So one of the small pieces that I learned from one of the speakers here, Daniel, was self-acknowledgement.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest reminders.
That's the biggest reminder everyone said so far.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
self-acknowledgement.
Self-acknowledgement, and it is the biggest environment, because I personally was in an environment when I was a child that shame was the go-to feeling. You didn't pass your taste, shame on you. You talked badly to somebody, shame on you. There wasn't no coaching, there wasn't no reflection or conversation. The only thing that they knew, my parents, my cousins, my uncles, which they learned from their parents, totally understandable, was shame on you. So this shame is something that's been integrated in, excuse me, in a lot of us. And when you self-acknowledge at night, you focus on what's going right, what you did right, and that occupies the space that you were dedicating to shame, and that as much as possible get rid of the shame. So that's one of the biggest realization that I had, that I still am creating space for shame, and if I focus on other space, on other things, it can eliminate it.
That's big. That's big. That's a nice lesson. I think everyone should write that down for sure. Because self-acknowledgement is huge. You know, we don't celebrate our wins. We don't celebrate the small things that happen in our lives. And we always want more, 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 and more. But we turn around and we're like, well, now that, imagine if you have everything you've ever wanted, like what's next?
Yeah.
You know, everyone wants things now. And you see in a lot of very wealthy countries, there's a huge rate of suicide of very successful people. Or in certain, you know, Arab countries, they've been born with a silver spoon in their mouth and they've had everything they've wanted and they've achieved everything at such a young age, or they've done everything you can imagine, like what's next?
Yeah.
And that's when they go into depression. So it's about enjoying the process and it's enjoying the now, right?
Yeah.
But what's next for Ali? You know, are you going to be a closer for the rest of your life? Like, have you got any ideas on what you want to do? Like, what's the next step for Ali after closing?
Just let me touch on something that you just said, and then we go to that question. You mentioned in one of the, in a lot of the big countries right now, they're experiencing a lot of depression, a lot of suicides, and I even read something somewhere about UK that every 90 minutes, every 30 minutes, somebody kills themselves, like, which is dark and sad at the same time. And I want to go back to what I said earlier, just the basics of life is personally is something that I want to put out there a little bit more, and remind people that physically working on yourselves, having the right goal, expressing love, you know, all the small things that we heard so much that they became cliches, are the key not to fall into the trap of depression. So I just wanted to put that reminder out there.
But let's dive deeper on depression, because I mean I've lost a couple of friends to depression, to mental health. Some I didn't even know. I didn't even know they had an issue.
Wow.
You know, and although we were best friends or very close friends, sometimes you don't see that people are suffering in silence. You
Yes.
know, and I think a lot of the times I've seen that as well with some sales guys, you know, some closers. You see them, they're posting their wins, they look happy, but they're not. They're trying to have this mask on to prove to everyone that I'm the best, I'm doing the best. And all they're doing, they're stuck in this rat race, in this environment of just like waking up, making money, doing the posts, socializing online. And that was me at one point as well. I remember I lost my business during COVID,
Yes.
moved back into my parents' house. And then I started working online. I started making a bit of money, and I became that person who was just waking up, making sales calls, making money, rolling into bed, doing the same thing. And I remember one day I walked downstairs and I was speaking to my mum, and she said, "Joe, why don't you go out with your friends?" I said, "My friends don't understand what I do." I was like, "I've got friends online." She went, "Really?" And then that night, I laid in bed and I'm like, online friends. Online friends. What's my life become? Are they really my friends? Online friends? What happened to all my old friends? Okay, a lot of them didn't understand my journey, so I did kind of grow, and I thought I had this new circle of friends online, but there was no real connection. And then that's what made me think, okay, well, how can I actually find these connections? Where can I go to find more entrepreneurs that can help me level up and get out of my environment and my comfort zone? So that's when I started going traveling. I thought, okay,
Yeah.
let me do a bit of research. Bali. Bali was an amazing place for entrepreneurs. Went there 2.5 years, had the most incredible time. I was making a bit of money. I wasn't making crazy amounts of money when I first got there. I was making enough money to be able to get out of my comfort zone environment and start meeting people, start socializing. Then I started getting into networking, and I realized the power of networking face to face
Yeah.
human interactions. But you're lucky that you have a good group of friends around you. There are a lot of people that don't, you know?
Yes. There are
So,
people who don't even have friends.
exactly. People, I know a few people that just don't have any friends, but they have this online friends.
Yeah.
But being in the house and experiencing a new circle of brothers and friendship that are on the same journey as you, if you have to explain it to someone that's so used to just networking online, signing up to these masterminds and these groups, how would you explain the difference between that? Because I know you're a part of some really good ones. JD Daly's got an amazing
Yeah.
online community, for example, with Hunter. They do a fucking great job,
Yes.
but it's still online, you know? So how would you compare that to your experience now?
Yeah. JD Daly has one of the best masterminds, and it's actually one of the ones that is better than a lot of them out there because they build that friendship. They go deeper. They talk about life outside of sales instead of just making it about business. But still, if you don't shake somebody's hand, sit down with them, listen to their stories, look into their eyes, you're not getting the full energy out of them. You're not getting the real conversations. It's hard for me to explain. Maybe I don't have the right words for it yet. It is a feeling for now. I don't have the right sentence to explain it, but it can become tricky because we can get lost. And as we discussed, we humans, we are adaptable. You can adapt to a shitty environment, you can adapt to a good environment, you can adapt to your computer world. So sometimes it is hard to remember there is a different reality in it. But the only thing that I can at least recommend at this moment, which I don't have any deep explanation for it, is explore. Don't just stick to your beliefs. I think Alex Hormozy was saying that the the main beliefs that we have to challenge are the ones that we believe in them really deeply and for so long. So yeah, the only recommendation that I have is at least go explore, give it a chance. Don't just stick to your grounds because you made a choice like 10 years ago.
But what about for those who socialize online, don't have a group of friends outside, and are scared to experience something in case it doesn't work? What would you say to those people?
I want to talk about this a little bit from a different angle. It is something that I've it's something that came up a lot of time on my sales call and my friends, that sometimes people think their problems are unique. Sometimes people think they're the only one who's a little insecure. They're the one who their parents talk shit to them. They're the only ones who are a little awkward. But when you realize that a lot of people are going through the same problems, but they're good at masking it, or at least even they're looking for a real conversation to be able to open up, it will open up a lot of doors. You're not the only one who is feeling all you're feeling, the insecurities, the ups and downs of life. It's been around for tens of thousands of years since the Marcus Aurelius book, Meditations, that he wrote down to himself, which was his personal journal. He was like, why animals are going to work, why the birds are out there, but I'm still in my bed. The guy wrote this down to himself 10,000 years ago. And fast forward to this new technology world, we're still experiencing the same problem. So don't forget, your personality is unique, but your problems are not. There are tools to help you with it.
That's so true. I like that, man. It's a very good way of explaining it, for sure. So now you've been in the Nomadic Closer House for the last 30 days. You've had
Yeah.
crazy amounts of experiences, adventures. What's been the most fun? Is there one that stands out, or maybe there's a few activities that stood out
So specifically, what was the most fun
in
from
terms of
from what we did
in terms of activities? Yeah,
in terms of activities? So
and you
there,
can be as open as you want on this podcast.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. So I guess I would This is not specifically unique by saying that hike to the mountain
Special.
was really special.
Mm.
When we used some plant medicine, some magic mushrooms, and went on a hike, I learned a lot myself about myself. I had a lot of breakthroughs. I'm usually the guy who leads the pack, who's calm, who doesn't panic as much. But on that trip, other people had to push me half of the way. I was ready to come back because I was going through some small things with my business, with home and the things. So they come up, it was becoming intense. So other people helped me to push through it. And when we went to the summit of the mountain or the top of the mountain, it became all worth it when I gave myself a chance to process it.
Yeah.
Um, so
And I remember on that hike as well, all of a sudden you turned around and you said to me, I finally know what I'm going to get tattooed. I finally know what I'm going to get. It was just like all of a sudden. That was
yes,
amazing. What'd you get tattooed?
there you go.
Seek the depth.
The grand opening. Seek the depths.
Amazing. And what does that mean?
So it is something that we touched on in this podcast as well. In, when I was in that mushroom trip and going on the hike, Mother Nature reminded me that I'm not going deep enough in my specific. It started with meditations. For some reason, the first activity that came up was my meditations because I'm a big believer in meditations. I'm a big believer in stillness. It helps out a lot of things in life. That's a separate conversation. But it came up that I was remembered the past maybe 10 meditations, 20 meditations. I was just doing it, just thinking for 20 minutes about bullshits of life, and I would just go to the next task. I realized I'm just going through the motions. And then I started thinking about other things. Am I being deep enough? Am I going deep enough in my conversations? Am I going deep enough in my business? Am I pushing myself at the gym? Which I started pushing myself a lot more after that.
So you just want to question everything you do to figure out if you're given the 110% you should be given. That's a good
Exact.
reminder. So
Exactly.
every time it's like, am I doing enough? You look at your tattoo. You're like, I'm not doing enough. I can do more.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. And there's a fine line. It can become toxic, which that's where self-acknowledgement comes to play, to recognize
Yeah.
that sometimes, yeah, maybe your day is just 3 hours of work and then you watch a movie and go to bed, but you push a little more. So it's not a straight path, but it was a good reminder
I love that.
that you know seek the depth comes from set the intention to see if you can, for example, lose yourself in the meditation, see if you can forget if you're sitting here, seek that deepness, seek that emotional connection. So that's where it comes from.
I love that, bro. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
So now we've come to the end.
Yeah.
30 days are up.
Yes.
You've had an incredible experience. You've had some great realizations, made some great friends and brothers. How are you going to now go back to your old environment, and what are you going to take away so you don't get trapped in the old ways? Because that's the biggest next challenge.
How am I gonna
Integrate.
integrate? That's a complex question. I'm still figuring it out myself. I guess the basic answer would be going deep enough in my foundational beliefs and basics of life. My workouts, my meditations, and my conversations, not using my phone at least for 3 4 hours in the beginning of the day, instead of letting the world shape me. Let me sit with my emotions, with my thoughts, and even put some stuff out there. Let contribute instead of letting the world
Yeah.
shape me.
Because I had this conversation with Pete on his last day. He asked me the questions like, how am I meant to integrate and change my environment from being here and then now going back to my old environment? Like, how do I do that? One of the biggest things after having a long conversation that he took away was what you just said is what can you do to give back,
Yes.
right? Could you create a community around where you live that has the need for something like this? Who is around that maybe needs help or maybe is suffering in silence.
Yeah.
So then you being able to have this experience and now sharing to the world your vulnerability, your journey, your success, you're now going to inspire other people.
Yeah.
So you've got a great story, beautiful story. Of the transformation I've seen in the last 30 days has been phenomenal, especially, like I said, in your eyes as well. You just look so different. But now use that and then go and start inspiring other people, because you have a very, very unique ability there that I can really see. So I wish you the best of luck there.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I believe that myself. I have the ability to bring people together to a certain size. People listen to me to a degree. There are people who look up to me, which is a great responsibility to have. And I'm gonna start talking about it more, putting it out there, sharing the story, and start shaping the world little bit by little bit.
I love that. Thanks, brother. And if you could sum up your whole experience in very few words to that camera, how would you sum up your experience? On the spot.
On the spot, easy questions, huh? Sum up the whole experience. Yeah, I wanna go back to breaking the cycles. It is something that Mother Nature and plant medicine has helped me to understand that there are loops that you can get entangled in life, and as adaptable creatures, we adapt to it, and you can easily adapt to being the best, being 50% of yourself in terms of energy, in terms of connection, in terms of business, money, and it feels like you're capped out because you're adapted to it. But going out of your comfort zone, coming out of the cycles, it will allow you to ignite new energies, new conversations. You start picking up clues. You see the world in from the other people's lenses. That's another blessing that we did this mastermind in South America, a third world country or underdeveloped country, if you will, which in some cases they're much better than first world countries. But you see a lot of poverty. You see a lot of people who totally zoned out from this world that we built around ourselves. With the charity that we did, it was a great reminder. I was telling Q that the last 2 hours, I just wanted to get out of there. It was smelly, it was chaotic, it was everything that I'm pushing forward not to be. But being there allowed me to experience it. I was telling him that I was fortunate that we stayed a little bit longer, to smell it, to see that scar, to do other things, because just giving away money to a charity is not going to do it justice.
Exactly.
So just to sum it up, guys, be careful. You can just get adapted to 50%, 20%. Don't fight for it. Don't tolerate it. You get to keep what you tolerate. Go out, explore, and you might be like, no, I'm doing it right, but at least for sure. Let other people give you new ideas. Watch the world from different lenses so you can choose more intentionally.
I think that was beautifully said. Beautifully said. Because a lot of the times we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times it's like, okay, well, this is the thing that I want. And you get there, you're like, oh shit, I've worked my whole life to get to this and I don't want it. It's okay. Now you know you don't want this thing.
Yes.
And it's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of people that I know. No, I worked 17 years in one career to hit one position, hit one job, one salary, a certain lifestyle. And when I got there, I'm like, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
It's fine. I know, okay, that's not what I want. What's next? What's next? What's next? Keep trying things until you truly figure out that's exactly what you want. And when you do get there, it may change again. So just keep on getting out of your comfort zone, keep on trying. And Ali, thanks for inspiring a lot of people. You've inspired me as well. I've learned a lot from you, so I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
brother.
putting this together. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, bro.
Cannot
Pleasure.
thank you enough.